Hello, my name's Imelda Maguire and I live in Donegal in the far northwest corner of Ireland. I am more than happy, overjoyed and very honoured to be reading for you this week, this month. I have nothing but admiration and love for Kai Coggan and everything she does. She is an inspiration, and I have no doubt but that what she has done during the pandemic in holding a community together here has saved lives and certainly saved sanity for many of us. And I want to offer my appreciation for that, for Wednesday night poetry, and to share with you some of my poems, old and newer. And I'm going to begin, because I like to begin, with the poem that is the first poem in my first collection. It's called Origins, and where we come from doesn't change, does it? Where we're going may change all the time, but where we come from is where we come from. The first collection was Shout If You Want Me to Sing. It was published by Summer Palace Press back in 2004, and this is the poem called Origins. I come from a bog cotton, hawk cry, flat, plain place, from a father who was a motherless boy. I come from a factory chimney mouth of the river city, from a line of strong, proud women, good with their hands, from a mother who was eldest of 8, working at 12, keeping house for families where children older than she were cosseted and sent to school. I come from some place between the cold that called for greatcoats piled on the bed and the white hot heat of a Saturday night range, somewhere between the piety of nightly rosary and the radical words of my father berating the clergy who persecuted the last few Limerick Jews. I come from times that were changing and carry a residue of times that never will. So today, as it happens, the day I am recording is the anniversary of my mother's passing 15 years ago. And so in her honour, I'd like to read you a poem I wrote, I think at the time of her 70th birthday, which is 30 years ago now. Mother, the things I've learnt from you may not be those skills usually passed from mother to daughter. I still can't bake a loaf of bread or manage to get every room tidied in one day. But I can take pleasure in my garden, stroll around and inventory the plants like you used to. Remember calling us all down to show us a bleeding heart or your Calvary plant? Whenever I pile the contents of a room in the hallway, intent on doing a proper clean out, I think of you. You would do that too, and then a shaft of sunlight or chorus of birdsong would draw you outdoors. There we'd find you when we came in from school, swinging on the back garden swing, face up to the sunshine, whistling with the blackbird. You drove us mad with your vagaries. You taught me there's never a time to stop asking questions. Look at you, 70, and still at it. And as I approach 70, well, in the next few years, I become more and more appreciative of those things about my mother that were not ordinary. So this is a second poem for my mother and about my mother. Her name was Mary Maguire, formerly Eaton, from Limerick. Just to let you know that. Things about you. I like to tell people these things about you. You bought yourself a car for your 50th birthday before you even knew how to drive. One Sunday, you brought home fruit, sweets, biscuits, told us it was Children's Day and that was dinner. You used to sit for hours on the back garden swing, soaking up the garden, soaking it all up. You grew peas and let us eat them right out of the pod, never cooked any. Once, on a Monday. You sent the boys to school, put Aileen and me in the car, and we went to Killarney. You went to charismatic meetings until people started to speak in tongues. Now you see your kitchen window box for the first time every time you go into the room, and you say, just look at those lovely pansies. So those were a couple of poems from my first collection, Shout If You Want Me to Sing. So I'll continue with a couple from my second collection, which was called Serendipity. You see the lovely cover was done by a lady called Carmel Madigan, who lives in County Clare. And the first poem I'd like to read you from this collection is really an homage to the poets I love, or some of the poets I love. Why I love poetry. I love poetry for the moose, for the fish, for the terrible beauty, the golden apples and the silver apples, for the earthworms singing and the dead in their glass-bottom boats looking down at us. I love it for the questions. What am I going to do with this one precious life? And the promises. I love how it makes me believe again and again that I am not alone. Out there, souls found the words for the heart's ache and its joy, dug them out with their squat pens, scattered them on the page like this season's first potatoes, offer them still. I love the friendliness of poetry, the way the poet expects me to see what they mean, like a friend would. I love the trust in that. I love that every poem is another hand, reaching, warming. I love that it soothes, that it slowly softens the wax. Here's another poem that begins with the words, I love. It's a different poem, but it has a little echo of the poem about my mother, because this was a poem for a man I encountered in California. He was elderly and in the early-ish stages of dementia. My mother's dementia progressed quite a lot, and but this is for a lovely man called Bob, Plantsman. I love this, Bob would say, stooping to the plant, scuttling along the path to the next one to catch his eye. This, I love this, he would say, letting his arms sweep about the paths of Tilden Park, the city below, where earlier we'd sat in the diner, Bob, Theo and me, and when his bacon came crisp with French toast and sweet, he'd said, I love this. From his room, filled with colour-mad canvases, we'd gone to walk Berkeley streets, see where he had been, back in those days, those wild, wild days. Now he bends to cup that trumpet-shaped flower, pink, deep, crazy pink, and tells me this, I love this. I think it's Mexican. I planted it in thousands. It might begin with P, but yes, this. I love this. And staying with older people, let me read you a poem from my Nana, my mother's mother, who died when she was 85, sitting in her armchair writing a birthday card for one of her 24 grandchildren, whose birthdays she never forgot. Nana, salt over your shoulder, holy water sprinkles, Saint Anthony watch over always. A good coat, discreet brooch, swept fireplace. She was a lick of paint, a stitch in time, curlers every night, smidgen of lipstick, powder compact on the mantelpiece. She was a glass case full of trinkets from Blarney and Ballybunion. a good room for priests and family photos, coddle and porridge, toast on a fork. She was a message bag, a milk can, a purse that jingled. Mass in the morning, bingo at night. She was stockings rolled down on the beach in Kilkee, eyes and ears for everyone, ours. That was my Nana. Let me read for you two poems that invoke my son. He's a bit of a traveller, so I go to meet him wherever he's living quite often. And this was from quite a few years ago. Christmas in Argentina. Will you be dancing a tango with a dark-eyed man? Will you be shopping up a storm, eating steak for breakfast? I'll be walking through a Palermo park, sunbathers reluctant to leave before the last rays had offered their gold. Christmas in Argentina with my son. I'll be walking in Recoleta Cemetery, touching warm stones, and at Quilmes, touching stones again, gathering their words. Taking the air on Avenida Libertador, under jacarandas, hummingbird happy with my son. Strolling a San Telmo market, handling glass trinkets, pink and blue, gathering these moments of walking with my son, gathering them like smooth pebbles, like coloured glass. He also spent some time living in Budapest, so this is Budapest. You give me this winter crisp city, sugar dusted and bright. The walk to the bridge and beyond, heart lightening every step. Such easy company you have become, my son, so ready to follow my whim. It is all a gift, but more than castles or opera, grand meals or fine art, this is the gift I receive, that you should choose to share them with me. These moments, these steps through this city, these places, this time. So those are two poems for my son, Gavin, the light of my life. And my third collection is called 48 Fragments. This also was published by Revival Press in Limerick, to whom I'm very grateful. They've been friends to me, and they're a wonderful community of poets and supporters of poets, in much the same way as Kai is, I think. It's difficult to know what I'd like to share with you, but this is the poem that has opened. It's a memorial poem to an old friend, Jamshid Hashmizadeh. Burial ground. Tending to your resting place, lifting the odd weed, scraping what's under the stone, moss and lichen, traces of leaves turned skeletal, washed in and rotted over winter, as all the white pebbles take on a green cast. There is comfort in this, returning to an old friend, offering some moments and remembering. All your life, such life, the energy that was in you for sharing, for telling a tale. Old tales and times you lifted a plate to pass around, old traditions, cheese you made, honey and sweet things. The shine in your eyes, I remember, your laugh, your good heart. And I think I'd like to finish with a poem for the trees. I've become in recent years so very concerned about our environment. So this is called Tree Song. It was the voice of the wind in the trees, the beeches, pines, that big old sycamore beyond the wall that lulled me to sleep, murmuring an autumn lullaby, all shh, shh, shh. They said it was time for slowing, for settling in, told me I had gathered enough, it was time now to rest, allow silence to come, for now, to wait a little while, in this nesting place, to settle and trust that after autumn, after winter, after rest, spring will come again, to know that what's been gathered, what's been stored will last. Every seed will come to its birthing time. Every root will one day cast a new shoot. Thank you for your attention. It's been really lovely to be with you all again once more. And thank you again to Kai.